good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you joining us from the East Coast. And good evening to anyone joining us from Europe or stations further east. Thank you for joining this, the 36th of our regular series of short courses on pumping topics. This one will last about 25 minutes, so one of our shorter presentations, and that'll allow us plenty of time for a Q&A session after the presentation. Those of you who've attended any of the earlier sessions will know that we're deliberately steering away from product presentations and towards educational content, addressing a pumping topic in each one. We believe this is very important in the new world order of many engineers working from home, making in-workplace training that much more difficult. As usual, I'll include a few slides at the end of the presentation to remind you of who we are and what we do, but I don't dwell on them. They'll be in the PDF copy of the presentation you get, so you can peruse them at your leisure. Here's a listing of all the previous short courses we've run during the last 3 years. If you've missed any of them, you can get a copy of the materials from our website, Ruhrpumpen.com, and follow the link to RP short courses. If you do that, if you go to Ruhrpumpen.com, you get to this screen. And here is the link to RP short courses. You get to this screen and you'll see all the recent courses listed. Here are just the latest 4, but all of them, all 36 courses will be up there. And you can click on any of them to see the course material and download copies for viewing at your leisure. Now, just the other day, I requested some data on the number of downloads we've had for these sessions, and I was very gratified to see these numbers. Some 10,000 downloads for some of the earlier sessions that have been out there for 2 or maybe even 3 years now. Very gratifying. Well, this seminar is going to look at engineered packaged pumping systems. For those occasions when you'd prefer to buy a complete engineered pumping package rather than buying just the pump from a pump supplier and having to design, purchase and build the rest of the installation yourselves, which would involve skids, enclosures, piping, valves, heat exchangers, filters, control equipment, instrumentation and engineering, and so on. Well, Ruhrpumpen has the expertise and the experienced engineering teams to meet your needs, however great and small. As usual, we'll hold a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. With so many attendees, a fully interactive Q&A is impossible, so we'll do the best we can, bearing in mind we've got some 200 registrations for this afternoon session alone. So please use the Q&A facility at the bottom of your screen at any time during the presentation to ask any questions or make any comments. I'll address those that I can live at the end of the session, and the rest we'll address by mail in the coming days. We are recording this session and we'll make it available to all attendees as a YouTube link, as well as by emailing you a PDF version of the slideshow and a copy of the Q&A answers. So, why buy a complete system versus building it yourself? Well, here are 9 good reasons to consider. A single source responsibility for the entire system. It takes time, effort, and resources to ensure successful implementation of a system. We can do that for you. It's a turnkey solution, one-stop solution. Plug and play into the process flow. Just connect at the tie-ins. Comes to lower administrative costs. We take care of procuring all the many components in the system, so it saves you a lot of time for you, as you no longer need to concern yourself with issuing RFQs, evaluating the quotes, ordering, expediting. Helps you manage a cash flow. Much easier to manage cash flow if there's only a single order placed with one supplier. It's reduced risk. You've got a single point of contact. You're managing just one supplier, not many. So you're decreasing the number of companies involved in a project, which greatly decreases the chances for mistakes. You minimize the opportunity for design discrepancies. Information is quickly and seamlessly transferred to a single supplier, which improves quality. It reduces the decision cycle. You're buying from one company, so smooth communication, quicker decisions, better control of your project schedule, and it minimizes the installation time. And minimizes construction time. Site erection time is reduced, and so is the cost, and results in overall project schedule. And finally, the most important one, in my opinion, use our manpower, not yours. We live in a time when many companies are operating with fewer staff, whereas we have actually been hiring highly trained and experienced package engineers. So you can reserve your most skilled engineers to work on critical projects and use our highly skilled and trained engineers to handle suitable packages within your overall project scope. So here are the common types of engineered systems that Ruhrpumpen can supply. I won't read them. I'll let you do that while I drink. This is water, I promise you. A typical engineered system will include pumps, drivers, steel base frame, coating, and piping. Also, control panels, valves, enclosures, instrumentation. On some skids, there'll be bladder tanks. Frequently, we'll have variable frequency drives, and sometimes heat exchangers. Not only this, there may be pump shelters, maybe simple ones like these, or more complex, complete pump rooms, like this one. And even pump rooms on floating vessels and barges. Let me show you some examples of proposals for engineered systems that Ruhrpumpen can supply. This first one is a fairly straightforward, low complexity package. 2 cooling water pumps, quite small ones, 230 gallons a minute, 26 psi. A bladder tank, 2 electrical panels with VFDs, the interconnecting piping, valves and fittings, all mounted on a common skid. Well, this here is a standard pump and motor scope of supply that you're used to seeing on all pump proposals from all pump suppliers. And here is the standard pump curve and datasheet and pump GA drawing, again, like you're used to seeing on all pump proposals. To these, we now add a scope of supply for the packaging, giving details of the valves, the instruments, the VFDs, etc. Now, what's unusual in the industry is that you also get an accurate GA drawing for the complete package. And even more unusual, a 3-dimensional isometric drawing of the package. And details of the selected valves, instrumentation, VFDs, and in this case, a bladder tank. So this is another straightforward system, slightly larger than the first one. Two cooling water pumps, again type OH1, 1,000 gallons a minute. I think the previous one was 240 or something like that gallons a minute. So a slightly larger one. Two electrical panels with variable frequency drives, piping, valves, fittings, and a common skid again. So here's the GA drawing of the package. And the 3D isometric. A slightly more complex system this time with a plate type heat exchanger. So again, two cooling water pumps, fairly small ones, two electrical panels with VFDs, heat exchanger, interconnecting piping, valves and fittings, and again, the common skid. Here's the three-dimensional isometric drawing of the package. There's your heat exchanger, two control panels. Here are the two pumps. Sorry, there are the two pumps. And lots of interconnecting piping there. And this time we have a second isometric viewing from the other direction for clarity. And again, an accurate GA drawing, a detailed GA of the package. And of course, technical details of the plate heat exchanger. And of the valves. The control valves and actuators. The butterfly valves and their actuators. Now on the more complex packages, we have piping detail specs to comply with. And typically valve data sheets as well as the normal pump data sheets that we're used to dealing with. Looking this time at a much more complex package. It's a high complexity 5-skid package. Two booster pumps. These are API 610 OH2 pumps. Then we have 3 plunger pumps, positive displacement pumps to API 674. We have a transfer skid for all 5 pump sets. That's controlling all the interconnecting piping, valves and fittings. Big package, we have to do all the structural calculations and we have to do natural resonant frequency analysis. And there's extensive non-destructive examination. This one is an order in production at the moment. So the centrifugal pumps are up here at the top. They are NPSH booster pumps for these PD pumps down here on the right-hand side. The system NPSH available wasn't sufficient to operate the PD pumps without boosting the NPSH with these centrifugal pumps. So let's look at the package. Here is the main suction flange. Here are the 2 centrifugal pumps. They discharge into this line, which is the suction line to the 3 piston pumps. Here, here, and here, the individual suction lines to the piston pumps. These piston pumps have individual discharge connections here, here, and here in yellow, finally exiting the package here. Here's the GA drawing for the two main booster pumps, which are API 610 OH2 pumps. And here the GA drawing for the positive displacement pumps, 3 pumps on their own base plates and the transfer skid containing all the piping for both sets of pumps. For these more complex packages, we obviously need to produce a P&ID. You can't see much on this slide, so here is a close-up on part of it, so you get an idea of the detail required. Here we have another low complexity package with self-priming pumps. Now, when we don't have the right pump in our range, we happily supply the right pump for the job from manufacturers that do have the right pump. In this case, Gorman Rupp. And here's the isometric drawing of that package. In this example, it's another complex package. Unusually, the storage tanks are in Ruhrpumpen's scope of supply this time. So a whole new layer of complexity. The 2 slurry pumps, each on their own structural steel baseplate, which also supports all the piping. The last one now, high complexity, very large package with 2 skids. Overall package, 36 foot by 32 foot by 16.5 foot high. One of those skids is 36 by 18.5 and the other 44 by 17.5. Got 2 split case pumps, big pumps, 16 by 20 by 23. That's a 16-inch discharge, 20-inch suction, and 23-inch nominal impeller diameter. 500 horsepower, so sizable motors. Also a flow meter and a bladder tank in this scope of supply. And as you can see, there's a lot more piping than there are pump. Here are the pumps looking very small down here, and as I said, they are sizable pumps, 16 by 20 by 23. That's a big pump. Here's the GA drawing. You can see the flow meter there. Well, that's it for today's session, apart from the Q&A in a moment or two. But first of all, I just want to advertise the next of the short courses. This is going to be on double case pumps, barrel pumps, type BB5, looking at what they are, why and when you need them, and what the alternatives are. 19th of December, that's 4 weeks today, just before the Christmas break. Again, 2 sessions, one in the morning for my time, this is, for the Eastern Hemisphere, and one in the afternoon, again, my time, for you guys in the Western Hemisphere. Invitation will be published very soon, so put it in your diary. Well, I'm leaving this meeting open for a little while to allow you to post in the Q&A box, and I will endeavour to answer those that only need a short answer here and now. Those that need a fuller answer will be answered within a few days. Anything you think of later, send an email to marketing@ruhrpumpen.com or to me directly, smith@ruhrpumpen.com. Our marketing team will be sending you the YouTube recording, the PDF of the presentation, and the consolidated Q&A from both of today's sessions. If you need a certificate of completion, again, marketing@ruhrpumpen.com, and marketing will arrange to send you a certificate of completion. And here, as usual, right at the end, 8 slides about Ruhrpumpen that remind you of who we are and what we do. So let me stop the screen share and let's get on with the Q&A. Do we have any questions? Yes, we do. Let's have a look. Anonymous attendee has said, on those pump and piping combination skids, can or does Ruhrpumpen run stress analysis on the piping pump flanges? Absolutely. That's going to be a requirement on those complex ones. On the small skids, less requirement. They're pretty straightforward. But on those big complex skids, yes, we have to do a lot of structural analysis. Anthony Farrell says, what is a reasonable timeline to request the mentioned deliverables when bidding a pumping system for corrosive mediums, cryo CO2, DI water, deionized water, I assume that means ammonia, etc. We would be looking to prepare a proposal within 3 to 4 weeks of getting your inquiry. The more complex the package, the more it might stretch out a little. Maybe you need a little bit longer for a package like the big 5-skid package, for example. But I mean, we would normally expect to do a pump quotation in about 3 weeks. So 4 to 5 weeks is, I think, is pretty good to do a complete skid package. Anonymous attendee says, what would your average lead time for a complex package? I'm going to stall on that one and get you an answer from our packaging team, get some ideas of what sort of lead times we're talking about for the various lead time packages. It's not one that I can answer off the top of my head. Obviously, the lead time is longer than it would be for just a pump. But on the other hand, it's going to be a lot quicker than the site, or than if you get all the equipment and start installing it individually and having to accommodate it all at site. Getting one system that is plug and play, drop into the site, much quicker. But I'll get you a better answer than that in the formal Q&A when I send that out. I've just been informed by one of my colleagues that the simpler quotes can be done in as little as 2 weeks. So for the small packages, a couple of pumps and a bladder tank, and those, because it's more of a standardized product. If there is any such thing as a standardized package in this world. Nalathambi Damalingam says, what is the maximum size of single skid can be fitted for transportation, sea, air freight? Well, you saw some pretty big ones in the package. What did I say they were? I don't have the sizes, but I will again get an answer by our packaging team as to what sort of maximum sizes can be handled on ships and on trucks, for that matter. Craig Smith has said, can you offer acoustic enclosures and sound attenuation with the packaged equipment? Yes, absolutely. I showed you some enclosures which were simple pump enclosures, but yes, they can be proper sound attenuating enclosures, no problem. And indeed, they can be fire resistant. H40, H60, H120. So that's fire resistant for 60 minutes and 120 minutes. That is something that we do quite commonly. We do it on our fire pumps as well. Oliver Valadez says, when RP supplies complete skids, do you include alignment of the coupling shafts and or belt pulley system? Absolutely. Our team of installation engineers will be attending for hookup and commissioning, and that's at the time when all those sort of alignments are carried out. I'm getting another answer from our team, which tells me that for simple systems, 15 to 20 weeks is a typical delivery system, and 30 to 40 weeks for the more complex large systems. We clearly are studying the industry needs to ensure we stay competitive for you guys out there. So 30 to 40 weeks for the more complex large systems. Anthony Farrell says, do you take controls in your scope with these systems? What are some interesting solutions you have provided? Haha, I like this. Great suit, by the way, he says. Oh, thank you. Yes, I've got the yellow one out again today. Tune in 4 weeks' time. I'll be wearing my Christmas waistcoat. So, Anthony, do we take controls in your scope with these systems? Yes, you will have seen on some of these we've got the VFDs in there. So yes, we can incorporate starters and so on. It wants to be a plug and play system. So whatever you need us to do, what I'm encouraging you guys to do is take a section, a self-contained section of your plant and say, right, rather than our engineers, meaning customer engineers engineering it, we'll have Ruhrpumpen engineer it. So a nice self-contained package that can be broken out as a complete package. That's the ideal situation for us for complex packages. Anonymous attendee, where would the fabrication of the skid and piping be from? Largely, it will be done at our Monterey factory, but it could also be done on overseas projects. It'll be being done at our factories in, say, India or in Germany for Europe or in the UK. There are several places it can be where it's logistically the most sensible place. Anonymous attendee says, does Ruhrpumpen provide their sub-vendor list within the engineering system proposals, instrument suppliers, valve suppliers, and accept suppliers' recommendations for specific items? Yes, we're used to dealing with oil companies and so forth and refineries, which will have their preferred vendors, and we will follow that where possible, where practical. We, of course, have arrangements with many valve suppliers, instrumentation suppliers. We use the major names, the well-known names. So we'll often prefer to be allowed to choose to get the best possible deal and indeed best delivery time and so forth. But we are used to dealing with customers' users lists, preferred vendor lists. Craig Smith says, thank you. Always enjoy seeing the waistcoat and tie combo. Sorry, it's the mad English professor look that I try and put across. Now, one additional point, our dedicated front-end quote team, we have mechanical and electrical designers as part of the front-end team to allow for the complete customization and detail, even during the quoting stage. And that was the point I was trying to make earlier, where I said, even at the quote stage, you get a three-dimensional isometric drawing and a properly sized up skid. It's not a guess. It's actually been laid out and is plus or minus accurate. Just pause for a moment and have another drink of water, I promise you. Beer comes in a minute. Right, wait and see if we get any more. Yes, I do. Here we go. Are your team familiar with CSA Canada standards? Have your team built to CSA Z662, B31.3 and B31.1 standard? I'll get my team to get you a definitive answer to that, but suffice it to say that our team is actually based in Canada, so I think the answer is yes. I've just had that confirmed, yes, to CSA standards. Yamil Mena says, do you carry out the design of the dampers and pulsation study for API 674 pumps? Yes, that's a crucial part of an API 674 pump. So we always do that, yes. anonymous attendee has suggested that CSA and CRN are not pleasant. I'll defer to your better knowledge of it. I must admit, being a Brit, I'm not familiar with those standards, but I've been assured by my team that yes, we do comply with CSA, or we can comply with CSA when specified. Just waiting to see if there's any more questions. We've had 20 questions there, which is pretty good. Thank you very much. I do enjoy these Q&A parts of the session. It keeps me on my toes. Here's another one. Are you comfortable quoting N+1 systems? You've defeated me there. I don't know what N+1 is. Maybe one of my colleagues will give me an answer. Oh, have you clarified it here with this follow-up? No single point failure. I'll defer my answer on that. That's outside of my experience. I'll get an answer from my team. I've got a brief answer from my colleagues saying that yes, N+1 is, we believe, the concept of backup modules. Yes, we can custom build anything like this as needed to spec. Okay, well, like I've said, I always compile all these questions and answers into an Excel spreadsheet and send it to everybody who's attended. And so I'll get those that I've given incomplete answers for. I will get more complete answers, and you will get them in your email that you will normally get early next week. Oh, another one here. Do you build pump packages only, or do you deal with compressors or turbine packages? Yes, we are quite happy to deal with other equipment. We are developing bids for those all the time. So yes, please, we would welcome inquiries for that, and HVAC as well, for example. Okay, well, let's call it a day there. There's still 69 of you stayed on right to the end. Normally, as we get halfway through the Q&A, the numbers start dropping off as people decide to leave. But still 69 of you there. So let me just say thank you for attending today. I enjoyed preparing and presenting it. I hope you found it useful. See you on the 19th of December, 4 weeks' time. Like I say, I'll be wearing my Christmas waistcoat for the next short course on BB5 pumps. Take care and see you next time.